Hi Karthik,
Hi Rashmi.
what's up?
Much a long drive to see the advertising of Zara to actually fall in love with a brand like Zara. You think you're not influenced by fashion, but you are influenced and you are a part of this fashion world without you even realizing it. It's not necessarily advertising, but it is marketing at the end of the day because they've created a perception. And at the end of the day, marketing is about creating those perceptions. So Zara has created a perception of being a very cutting edge fashion brand while being affordable, which means I would find the latest fashion cut there, but something that doesn't pinch my wallet too much. Take Rolex for example. You can't just go walk into the Rolex store and say I want to buy it. They will most likely tell you no, it's not there, it's out of stock, for the simple reason they create an artificial demand. So encouraged people to be stupid, because smart would always be the ones who stop things from getting done, saying this will not work, and they would not be willing to experiment, try out something new, try out something crazy. And stupid is the one who would actually go out and do something which is irreverent, which is crazy, which beats convention.
Hi Karthik,
Hi Rashmi.
what's up?
Much a long drive, that's what's up.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so first of all, thanks for coming
I'm happy to
for
be here.
like 25 kilometers.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just quickly start with your introduction, and yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Karthik. I've been in marketing for a fairly long time. I am currently like the senior vice president at Axio, which is a fintech company. We're into the digital lending business. I've had a career that spans advertising, entrepreneurship, and obviously fintech right now. So I've been in this current role for the last 3 years.
Okay, awesome. And for how many years you have been into marketing?
I think pretty much since I started my career in different forms of marketing, but like a large chunk of mine was in advertising, which is
Okay.
predominantly what is called ATL advertising, and then subsequently into digital marketing. So I had spent about 15 years there and the last 3 years here.
Oh, so you are having nearly 20 years of experience.
18 to 19.
18
Yes.
to 19, yeah. That's pretty much okay. Never mind. Okay, so we are going to discuss a lot about marketing. Okay, so how I've tried to dissect the entire thing, that we are going to talk about different domains, and under that domains we can just take some of the brands. For example, we can start with fashion, as that is something which I'm extremely interested in, and so are you. And then we'll go on with other brands like sports, e-commerce, etc.
Sure.
Right? And I have decided to do this very fun series where we'll be taking up the brands, and like we'll just pick the brands who are doing like good marketing, then bad marketing, and all that. You can also tell me some gossip also if you need around, if you
Sure.
have around those marketing. Okay, so we can start from there. Okay?
Sure.
Cut. सब सही हो रहा है? Okay, so we'll just start with fashion as a category, and you can pick the brands which you feel have done exceptional marketing. And I'll also chip in as to what all brands I feel are like something which the brands which I basically use in every day, and why first of all I use it. So maybe like we can sort of start from there.
So I'm going to be biased towards brands that I have worked over my career when it comes to fashion, at least. And when I say fashion, I'm going to include also jewelry. So I've worked on Tanishq way back in time. So I really like what Tanishq had done compared to what the category was going through. I think Tanishq kind of at that point in time zigged when the world was zagging. So I like Tanishq. I've also liked a few of these international brands in the past, for example Lycra and all of those. Those are categories that you don't really think about too much when it comes to fashion, but I think the way they have evolved and the way they have kind of advertised and the way they have done marketing has been pretty great. Outside of it, if you talk about very popular fashion brands which are out there, in fashion, the category that I like the most is ironically watches. I like the advertising that is done for watches specifically, as compared to what conventional fashion a lot of people think about as apparel. but I kind of like watches.
But
So
why watches?
because I think I like watches,
Okay, but
so
why
it's
do
my
you?
personal preference. I think, see, one of the things that especially premium watches or luxury watches, the way they kind of advertise, they talk about heirlooms. They don't talk about this being owned by you and a status symbol for yourself alone, but something that you pass on to your, your children, your grandchildren, your family, or whatever. And that's a stance that they can take, because watches are collectibles,
Okay.
unlike very apparel kind of fashion, which is very seasonal. So you go through a spring, summer, fall, winter collection, and you kind of refresh your wardrobe. And unlike that, watches are timeless, they are classic. So if you pick up a Rolex from the 1960s, it is as much as relevant today as it was then. So it appreciates over time. So in the sense, watches as a category is more like art when it comes to when it comes to the higher end side of the products, as compared to apparel, which isn't.
So can I just put it this way, that according to you, watches are asset because they are,
Yeah.
and other things like apparels and everything comes under the liability section because you just wear it and then.
Not always. Some garments
Okay.
do, like, I mean, do like zoom up in value and stuff like that, but they are not zooming up in value because of the fashion quotient. So for example, if Marilyn Monroe's dress that she wears in the iconic shot, it's I think it's in one of the fashion museums in the world.
Okay.
Its value is inherently not because of the dress, but because that Marilyn Monroe wore it. So compared to buying any premium watch, it doesn't matter who was wearing it or flaunting it. It always inherently has its value. So yeah, so you're, in some sense you're right, because it is cyclical. Fashion will take a cycle, and some point in time it will come back to what it was. But
So which is your favorite brand? Let's say under watch category only.
so I like Rolex.
Okay.
I do like Swatch, and I like Swatch because they're extremely young. I like Omega, and yeah, these are the few that I like. I like Tissot. Way back in time they launched something called T-Touch. I do like the higher end Patek Philippe and all of these ones as well, but like they are beyond reach after a point. So
Do you like them, like any of the campaigns or let's say ads they released, which according to you were like, oh my god, you know?
yeah, recently Rolex released something which I kind of really liked,
Okay.
which I really liked. Pretty like in the last couple of months they released something which I really liked.
Okay, got it. We'll attach the clip of that.
Sure.
Okay, so maybe we can just move to apparels category. I know you just hate that category.
I don't hate any category or whatever it is.
Okay.
I do like the category, but worth the investment, I'm saying. I'm operating like a
Okay.
typical middle class Indian. I would rather see something that lasts longer, so that I have more value derived out of it, than something which is
Wow.
worn, which depreciates in value.
Understood. Okay, so yeah, moving ahead to apparels category, the category that depreciates a bit.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. So what brand I like?
Yeah.
I like Diesel.
Okay, why?
I like their designs and their denims primarily. It was one of the few brands after Levi's, because Levi's was your sort of like a gateway into the world of denims. So
Okay.
my first pair that I bought was a Levi's Signature, which was the lower end of the spectrum, which was the affordable collection they launched in India. And so after that, the only aspirational brand that I looked up from denims was Diesel. And I did pick up one when I went abroad. I did pick up another jacket from them some time ago as well.
Okay.
And I feel their styles and their philosophy, and also I loved the advertising. They were very irreverent, in your face kind of advertising. Back in the day, they ran even a campaign called Be Stupid, which I think was like cutting edge for that point in time.
Okay, got it. So what was this campaign about? Be stupid? I don't know.
So Be Stupid is a campaign that they ran maybe I think 15 years ago easily,
Okay.
and it kind of celebrated the aspect of trying out things despite people telling you it's stupid to do it.
Oh.
So it kind of like encouraged people to be stupid, because smart would always be the ones who stop things from getting done, saying this will not work, and they would not be willing to experiment, try out something new, try out something crazy. And stupid is the one who would actually go out and do something which is irreverent, which is crazy, which beats convention. It's a wonderful campaign that they did. They launched it globally. So yeah.
I think we are falling under the be stupid category.
Yeah.
Kidding. Okay, so I'll just take the names of few brands. Okay. Let's just talk about Zara because I think I've used a couple of their products, and advertising wise, I don't see any of the campaigns which they like. Maybe they have done, but usually your go-to brand, especially for if you're in your 20s or mid 30s, it becomes like you just go to this basic Zara, H&Ms of the world, and other Indian brands are having the domination over here to some degree, like the Zudio and all that, but still they have not occupied the space where Zara operates, at least in Indian market. So what do you think is setting that brand apart? I'll just go first before you chip in. See, for me, I may not have a very nuanced marketing approach, marketing kind of a POV on that, but from the product POV, I think that yes, it is fast fashion and it really sort of helps you to stay on top of the style statement, and sometimes they come with timeless pieces also, which I like to pick, of course. What according to you is the marketing?
So I think you don't need to see the advertising of Zara to actually fall in love with a brand like Zara. All right. I think first off, they're a retail first brand. I mean, they've gone digital in the last many years, but they've always been something which would be occupying a significant retail space in a premium position.
Okay.
And I think a large part of their, first coming to the product itself, they obviously were one of the pioneers of fast fashion.
Okay.
And I think they go through more cycles in a year. I don't know, 30 cycles or whatever. I don't know the exact number in terms of replenishing the styles in the. So you go to Zara today and you go to Zara 2 weeks down the line, you would not see the same garment. Like you would see that happen. Like I remember I've been to Zara and I liked something, I didn't buy it, and I went a month later and they were like, it's not there anymore, right? So they kind of like Zara, H&M, these brands kind of like built the idea of what is fast fashion, which is essentially taking something from ramp to production in a super fast way. So let's say this season, for example, you have fashion has 2 cycles in a year.
Okay.
So there's a spring summer and then there's a fall winter collection, and there are different types of shows that they run, where there's something called a haute couture and then there is something called a pret line, and these are different ways in which they express what is going to hit the market. And I kind of always cross-reference to this film, which is The Devil Wears Prada. I'm assuming you've watched it.
Yes.
And there's an iconic scene there which kind of explains how fashion actually percolates down the chain. So there's the scene where Meryl Streep talks to Anne Hathaway, and she kind of says that you're wearing this blue sweater or sweatshirt or whatever it is, and she kind of tells this color and this design first debuted in this fall winter collection during this show. And after that, it made ways to all the brands, and after that, it made ways to the Walmarts of the world, and after that, it made way to a dumpster, which is where you possibly pick this up. She goes down this, like huge tirade about telling her that you think you're not influenced by fashion, but you are influenced and you are a part of this fashion world without you even realizing it. So in the same sense, I think Zara, what they have done very well is, I mean, it's pretty much the basic 4 P's of marketing, right? They have ensured that they are in the right place. They position themselves very strategically next to brands that they want to be seen around. So if you see, Zara stores will be positioned predominantly in the global spaces in high street fashion areas, but they are affordable compared to, I mean, in India, I wouldn't call them affordable, but from a global standard, they are affordable fashion, right? And which allows you to try more and move on to the next new fad, which means that I can buy something today and 3 months down the line I can completely replenish my wardrobe with a new set of collections from Zara. Okay. So it doesn't necessarily pinch your pocket, all right? So they're priced well, all right? And obviously I think Zara also has these sales and stuff like that they do, but more importantly they do it intelligently and well enough for people across the world so that you pick it exactly at that point in time and find some great price. So they're not always on sale, like a lot of brands that I've seen in the past. They are always on sale, perpetually on sale. That they they'll keep saying different terms for it, but they're always on sale, right? So Zara doesn't do that, and I think they adopted a very good retail presence. The people you walk into a Zara store, where, you know, in terms of how they look, in terms of how you feel inside the store, in terms of the way the merchandise is displayed, they kind of conquered that pretty well. So I think the combination of price point, the combination of product being, you know, changed constantly, and the combination of the fact that, you know, you are able to see them in the right place when it's fashion, because you're seeing them next to other brands of fashion which have sort of set the template of what this fashion market is about. They've gotten it right. So it's not necessarily advertising, but it is marketing at the end of the day, because they've created a perception. And at the end of the day, marketing is about creating those perceptions. So Zara has created a perception of being a very cutting edge fashion brand while being affordable, which means I would find the latest fashion cut there, but something that doesn't pinch my wallet too much.
Okay, and what do you think about H&M then?
Pretty much the same strategy is what they do.
At the lower price point, maybe.
At the lower, so H&M, at least in India, has jacked up their price points, but
have they?
Yeah, they have gone up from the time they've come in. I've seen the brand increase its
but
price point.
But I still think that it falls under the
It is in the same. It is in the same range.
Not
when they came in, they were a lot more cheaper. So from an India perspective, pretty much the same strategy that they adopt as well. So they do ensure that they are seen in the right places. They're a Swedish company,
okay.
And if I'm right, Zara is a Spanish company, and both of these places are not necessarily known for fashion. If you ask the fashion capitals of the world, it's going to be Italy, Paris. I mean, so you will say, for example, Milan, Paris, and New York, maybe London a little bit. These are the destinations of fashion that you would think of, but you don't think of Sweden and Barcelona as the, you know, birthplace of fashion, at least Western fashion, if I have to put it that way.
Okay.
So I think H&M adopts a similar strategy, because, you know, in any market, it's not just that there will be a one monopolistic player anymore, because there's always a space for second and third and fourth person to come into that market. So you can be a sort of Me Too product and exist and coexist, because at the end of the day, the category is growing. So with the more people who come into the category, it's not like you can keep the category for yourself, because there's only that much of you know, revenue that you can build to open up multiple stores in multiple locations. So more stores, more people coming in, more people entering the category is good for even Zara. So actually having an H&M, actually having the other brands come in is actually good for Zara as well. So it expands the category.
What else? What's like, these are the two brands which I think a lot of Indian audience, at least the one in the 20s or mid 30s, would necessarily relate to. But what are other brands? For example, let's take Marks and Spencer. So I think they come into the category of being not very affordable, but a very good quality of the material which they use. So if, let's say, for me, if I need to buy a nightwear, then I will, irrespective of the price point, maybe that's how I am, because nightwears are something which I feel like should be of premium quality. So what's your POV on that?
See, Marks and Spencer's is legacy. You buy it. Yeah, it's a pretty old brand. How old is the brand? I'm not so sure, but it's pretty old. It's not like very young. M&S is an old English brand, and they've been around for a while. And their credentials in India and in a lot of the markets is actually innerwear. They kind of did a lot in the innerwear and specifically lingerie, especially in you know, the West Europe side. They have actually done that pretty well, because they have an array of sizes which are not available in all brands. All right. That said, I agree with the quality. Like there are very few places that I buy sweatshirts from, and Marks and Spencer is one of the places that I buy, because they last pretty long, but they're very dated in their styles. They are very classic. So not dated is possibly the wrong word, but they're classic. So they don't really push the edges of fashion or whatever it is. So if you want to be safe, if you want to look relevant in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s, in the 2010s, in the 2020s and the 30s, you would pick a Marks and Spencer's, because it is kind of like a classic piece. So that's how they operate, but their attention to quality is pretty well known, and which is why they command a premium and a price as well. But you don't think fashion and say Marks and Spencer's, it doesn't come out of your mouth for the first time. You think quality, it possibly comes, and they've kind of carved a niche for themselves in that way.
I think in the similar category Uniqlo falls, because
Uniqlo is actually high on fashion. It's on Japanese fashion specifically. So the cuts that they have, Uniqlo's cuts are very iconic. They have something in Japan which is a sort of like a play area. It's a very young brand. So I don't know if you know the story of Uniqlo.
Uniqlo is not. Is it a young brand?
It's
no?
a young brand. It goes after a very young audience. It goes after a very young audience, a very young urban, just into the workforce audience. If you know the history of why Uniqlo was started.
No, I don't know.
So the guy who was the founder of Uniqlo was a Jap dude. He was working, I don't know, in a restaurant or in some cafe or something, and he was made to wear a suit and a tie every day. He was asked to.
At a restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe a restaurant or like a store. I don't know where
Okay.
exactly. He worked in some retail outlet or some cafe or whatever it is, where he had to dress up a certain way, which he felt was uncomfortable. He had to wear a tie to work, basically. The bottom line is that, and he didn't like it, so he quit his job. And I think he had a family business through which he started. It was called Unique Warehousing. That was the original name, if I remember.
Yeah, so we were talking about Uniqlo, right? So according to me, they have a very I find that brand to be like extremely plain Jane. Like I'll really not wear their clothes a lot. I'll just use their like t-shirts and everything. You know, for me it looks like they saw one t-shirt which is like in plain white and they like make it in 5 different colors. That's what that brand stands, except for that Uniqlo bag which is like trending everywhere. But that were my 2 cents for that brand.
I mean, see, not all brands are going to be as colorful as you expect or as crazy as you expect. Like for example, Diesel, if you see the patterns and stuff like that, we talked about Diesel earlier, right? They're very, very edgy. The garments, the designs, like the denims, they'll have patterns. The jackets will have, like Ed Hardy, if you see, or like if you see, there are a few other brands that are there. I forgot the name actually, but like I think it's also a Spanish brand, if I'm right. They're very vibrant and colorful and whatnot. So I think there's a market for everybody and for everything. So Uniqlo was built as something actually for workwear as well.
Because that worker.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's just kind of took on the notion that to go to office you have to wear a suit and a tie. So can you look great? Maybe partly formal, semi-formal, or casual, smart casual, or whatever it is that they call it, and still look comfortable in them without being so uptight. So I think they've stuck to that pretty well. They will have obviously certain elements of their look and feel which might not apply to you, but it's not like so there are a few things that work for you, there are a few things that don't work for you. But the kind of audience that they cater to are predominantly going to be the ones who look up to this kind of a visual standard. That's all. So, and if you look at any European brand for that matter, they're all very muted, very grays, blacks and whites and some micro checks and stuff. They are very, very muted compared to India in terms of the color and the art and the palette and the fabric and the texture and the weaves. I think a lot of these other countries pale in comparison when it comes to actually taking fashion to the next level. A lot of these brands in fact come to India to get that little detailing done, like your little beads and stuff like that. They actually get a lot of stuff done here.
Okay, understood. Let's not talk about beads, okay? I don't know why. But yeah, that's like, that has been my observation also so far. Although I have not traveled internationally so much, it's just been 2 countries. But I've seen like a lot of like this entertainment content, like movies and everything. So even in them, you can see the entire crowd of people. Let's say if there is a scene like that, and you will just observe that it's like too muted. Wherein in India, it's like, I don't know, it's vibrant. They just play Holi everywhere.
Yeah, that's what. Like India has a very vibrant color, and the schema of color in India is far, far different. The tapestry is different. Whereas if you compare this with typical Western expectations of what fashion is, they are more about silhouettes and cuts rather than about patterns and designs and stuff like that. So if you see anything to do with the West, it will be more about the fit and the cut and and those tiny details, not really in color.
Okay.
So yeah.
Have you seen Succession?
Yeah, I watched not the entire piece, but I watched.
Okay, so Succession gave birth to this concept called quiet luxury, or like what was that other? Okay, quiet luxury. So what do you have to think? Like, what's your POV on that?
I mean, it's a real thing. It's not like they gave the concept or whatever. They maybe popularized it, but I think historically, like billionaires, like tech billionaires, they would wear like a turtleneck, like Steve Jobs to even Zuckerberg, wear specific types of clothes, and they're seen mostly in those type of clothes, like with a turtleneck, with a black tee and a pair of denims. But that look the t-shirt would be costing like a few, I don't know, $100
Yeah,
each
that's pretty
for a piece,
expensive.
right? So for them it's about the fact that, see, the truth of fashion is that when you want to flaunt a name and when you want to flaunt a label,
Logo.
yeah, a name or a logo, like I'm wearing Armani, it's not a benchmark of success in life for the people who are there, like billionaires. For
That's
them,
like new money.
yeah, it's more like new money, because when you just hit like this thing, you want to flaunt that little success that you've gotten. But people who have gotten enough money and who can possibly buy out each of these companies themselves, for them it's not about, it's about understated, it's about ensuring that you do not know, because they don't want to popularize it, they want to keep it niche, they want to keep it exclusive, they want to keep it gated. It's like a club membership. So you want to ensure that not many people know about it, and the people who know about it are your peers and contemporaries. So I think that's important. It's the same thing with even specific watches or Rolls Royce, or they have these custom details that they do, right? So you want to ensure that it remains. So like a lot of these brands in fact wouldn't even sell publicly. Like take Rolex for example, you can't just go walk into the Rolex store and say I want to buy it. They will most likely tell you no, it's not there, it's out of stock, for the simple reason they create an artificial demand. So when it comes in stock, people are actually going to search for it in the black market. They let it exist in the black market for a particular reason, because its value and inherent, value appreciates a lot more.
Okay. क्या हुआ? What is this team? How would I know the bomb is not there?
Oh God.
You're just running away, leaving us.
Yeah, bomb. That's how he would walk to a bomb. Sure. Huh.
Okay, so another, you actually touched base on a very cool point which I now forgot.
Because you got distracted by a bomb.
God. Should I? It was artificial scarcity. Okay, so a lot of brands play a very serious game of marketing around artificial scarcity, right? And how effective, like for example, classic example is booking.com showing 2 seats left, or 2 spots left, 3 spots left.
Yeah.
So what are, like, do you know any of the brands, first of all, who are actually excelling using artificial scarcity to some degree? And also, like, how effective do you think artificial scarcity is in this entire marketing umbrella?
It is huge, and it exists in both ends of the spectrum. When I say both ends of the spectrum, when you look at luxury brands, like if you look at a Birkin, or if you look at any of these also, they have limited edition pieces that they will launch. They will say 100 pieces and numbered pieces that are launched, and after that it's sold out. You can't buy it unless you go to an auction or somebody is selling it or whatever it is. So they create these exclusives just to create artificial scarcity. It also ends in the other end of the spectrum. So for example, if you've seen, and this is not related to fashion, but also related to fashion. So for example, not even high-end fashion, I don't know if you know, but I think H&M and Sabyasachi did like a collab together, and they sold out in maybe an hour, if I'm right. They sold out, and so Sabyasachi is an expensive brand from an Indian standpoint,
obviously,
but from an international standpoint, it's still not out there, right? And when you do these collabs, H&M actually brought the price of the Sabyasachi garments down, but like immediately it's sold off, right? If you move into adjacent categories like the Stanley mug, or if you even look at mobile phones for that matter, and take a brand like Xiaomi, which actually is a value for money brand. Their go-to strategy for the market in India was a flash sale. So they would have 10,000 units of phones for sale, and it'll get sold in 3 seconds.
Okay.
Like if you go to, back then I think they did it with Flipkart, and I think they've moved to Amazon or whatever it is, and they also do multiple channels right now. But earlier they were only online. So when they launch something, it gets sold out in 3 seconds, and you'll have to then get on a wait list. I have been on a wait list like that multiple times.
Seriously?
Yeah, because it's just to know what the hell it is about, right? So you feel curious. Like for example, OnePlus, when they launched OnePlus One, the launch was basically, you have to get an invite to get a OnePlus phone. I don't know if you know this, and in fact they had like a small campaign where you have to smash your iPhone and they will give you a OnePlus for free. So they create these artificial scarcity. So it's not limited to the high end of fashion. It is limited across the segment. So like a OnePlus was a classic strategy, Xiaomi is a classic strategy. All of these guys have done this to create that need, want, desire. Because when you like Supreme as a brand, they create this a lot. A lot of brands do this because they know that you want to get it at that point in time, and they make it specifically available only 100 units for sale or whatever it is, and people feel that if they don't buy it, they lose out. So
yeah, that's like a focus.
yeah, so it's not a lot of people think this artificial scarcity is limited to the higher end of the spectrum. It's not. It cuts across everywhere. It just depends on specific things. Like if somebody launches a limited Avengers collection some garment, it will get sold out.
Yeah, and I also like there was this one brand who does this like their store positioning in such a way that the merchandise would be like, if you see the store merchandise in the store, it would be like only few quantities, right?
Yeah.
Because they sort of want to create this illusion that maybe there is not,
and it's a
stock.
function of also in high-end retail, which
Yeah.
is like if you go to an LV store and if you try and buy anything, first off you have to put yourself on the wait list to see if that can be arranged for you. So you will find, so look at this like that. So if you have 500 square feet of space, I'm just
Okay.
saying, or 1000 square feet of space, they would have maybe 10 products on display. But the value of those products, so it's you know, so in retail specifically, they measure it as revenue per square foot.
Okay.
One of the metrics that they use essentially is how much of income am I generating or sales am I generating for per square foot. Now in an LV store, that would be 1 lakh for that 1 square foot, because they have only one bag that is there, and even then they will say, please leave your name in the register or whatever it is, and we will come back to you when the piece is available for sale. So they create this need for you to be into their list. I think, I do not know in which one, but I saw this in another podcast, I think in the WTF podcast only, where I think the Future Group head, the former Future Group head, Kishore Biyani,
Okay.
talks about premium brands, and these are the high-end brands that are there in Bombay, and they have only 70 people as their customer list, and they sell everything to those 70 people. To get into that list for you is a big deal. It means you've arrived in life.
Okay.
So some of the biggest brands that are the Hermes or whatever it is that you see, they have a list of people, and they will only cater to that list. So they will personally call, the manager will call and say, you know, we have this collection that's come up in the store, would you like to see ma'am or sir or whatever it is, and they get sent to their home to see, and then they buy it. So that's how it is. So you just can't walk in just because you have a bucket load of cash and think that I'll buy it. It doesn't work like that always.
Okay, got it. Yeah, so I mean, I think if the person is aware that a particular brand is creating the artificial scarcity, and most people, I don't think so, they have any sort of an understanding of whether that's happening or not. For example, for me, when I see, like, I'll just take the classic example of Booking, because I relentlessly use that app for whatever traveling. So they just almost always have like the price cut downs happening, and 2 rooms, 1
Yeah.
room available, which is
Only
like
one room
so-
available at this price. Book now.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Because it's about, like, again, closure of the conversation for them. So a slight difference between how you approach it from a digital perspective, because across digital mediums they will always throw you this little curveball. So the best way, like I do this as a, I mean, I shouldn't say it, but like as a basic hack, is I would sign up, go to the end of the page, and I would give my WhatsApp notification on, and I would exit. So basically what they will do is give it a day or 2 or 3, the brand will come back to you with a coupon saying you didn't finish your sale, would you like to get like an additional 10% coupon.
Tip here.
So, and they would, I have done this many times, because I know that, you know, I mean, I'm a marketer myself, and the closure of that sale is extremely important for me. So let's say you book something at 2,999 and you drop off the journey and you wait for a few days. Most likely, if it's a brand which is largely dependent on digital revenues, they will come back to you with an offer saying you have an exclusive coupon, why don't you finish the cart.
Basically, you have entered their funnel, and they sort of want to close the funnel
Yes.
on your end. Yeah, okay.
So they will do what it takes to do it, that's all.
Any other tip do you have?
Sure, I'll give
You can
away all
just
my
tell
tips
us.
right away.
Because we travel a lot.
But this is a way which you can do,
Okay.
but not necessarily in travel. So I mean, in travel you will have to use specific meta search sites which will give you a better deal, and you'll have to look and compare. It's a slightly arduous process.
Okay.